So it is what it is. The game's about over here. Florida State has the ball with a minute to go. Let me jump back here in the chat just a little bit. But Sean, what's up, buddy? What season you think Mike must have to keep his job next year? That's a great question. I have to back it up to what we were just talking about. I don't think it's just the season. It's what he did leading up to it. Who he gets in the portal, who he fires, and who he hires. All those things. He's got a lot of points to go through. Because if people are quote unquote comfortable, it's subjective, with what the administration did, with what Mike did, and how the coaches do through spring. And you can only hide so much in spring ball when you have that spring showcase or the spring game. When you have that, if people aren't comfy, and I mean really comfy, coming out of spring ball, it'll be fine line. I think 7 wins would be minimum, and I don't know where that's going to be because they're going to have so much turnover. I have no clue. They could be 3-9 next year. They could be 8-4. No idea. This roster is going to look massively different, especially up front, because they're going to lose several senior linemen, first or second team, and DJ's not going to be back. Malik Benson, I don't think so. They're going to have a lot of guys different. So that's a great question, but I really don't know the answer right now. David Thatcher, will Miami fall off like FSU next year? No, and here's why. They're going to lose Cam Moore, but they've recruited in a more balanced sense. O-line, they've recruited extremely well from the high school ranks, and then they supplement it with the portal. They're not going to be as good as they were this year. You're not going to get Cam Moore again, but they'll still be an 8-4 football team or better. Mario's not a good enough coach to win a bunch of 3-point games. Prove me wrong, but they're not going to fall off like this because they've done a great job of recruiting high school players. Bottom line. Florida State going outside. You guys going to sue Miami for wrecking your bowl season hopes? That's from Kyle. How about you just take a lead, buddy? Is Glenn in the portal by Florida game? No, I doubt that. Ron Dugans will need to go as well. He could be. The receivers haven't done well. But I mean, I don't know how much of it is Ron. I mean, if the ball hits you in the hands, that's not a coach. You're taught that in 5th grade. 2 hands, look the ball in, run with it after you've secured it and put it away. That's it. Florida State struggles with that more than anything else. So I don't know. Christopher, if Mike does not fire someone from the coaching staff, he will be fired the same year. If money is an issue, I hate to say, bring Prime in to make the money up for Mike's contract. I have a lot of thoughts on Prime that most people probably won't like, but I don't think he is the answer. It's a very long conversation, but the tipping point of it, and the biggest one, is it's not negotiable. For those of you who do not know, because of his physical ailments, he's got a foot problem. He had part of his foot removed, literally. He doesn't get around well. Well, in conjunction with that, he doesn't travel to the in-home visits for these recruits, from what I'm told, only a few. You can't ever miss an in-home visit. You've got to be constantly on the road. He doesn't travel as well, though. If for somehow he can get around that, it'd be different. And for those who say, it's probably great, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. There are no exceptions to that. It will not work. You must be an elite high school recruiter doing it the traditional way. No exceptions. Let's see. Eric Norvell, please leave Atkins and Coral Gables. Let him find his way home. Post of the night. Oh, that's pretty brutal, man. It's pretty brutal. David Thatcher, speaking of Deion, Colorado will be horrible next year. Travis Hunter and Deion's son will be gone. That is probably true. You're not going to replace Shador. Again, there's just no other position in sport like quarterback. And has Colorado recruited the high school ranks at an elite level of quarterback? No. So we'll see how that goes. But nonetheless, it is what it is. People could have their opinions on that. But Deion has a tough job at Colorado. They're not going to recruit at a high level there because of the location of the school. So it is what it is. But that's just part of it. Yeah. Florida State with a touchdown here late in the game, kind of inconsequential. It's going to end up being 36 14. Miami's going to win, but this game has been pretty much in hand throughout. Thought it would be bigger, to be honest. I think the point spread by one of the books was 21, so they ended up being pretty accurate. It's a 22-point game. So that ends up being accurate. All right, now that the chat's going to start filling up a little more, a couple of points that I want to make to anybody in the chat now or coming back. These are the discussion points that I want. And you can throw out other things if you want as well. What do you think about the Brock going? Like Brock just had a touchdown drive against some backups, but would you play Luke as the starter in the next game? Would you split time? These are tough questions, and I'm not sure there is a single answer for it. Defensively, would you do something to find a way to change a few things? Would you leave it as is? I mean, they played fairly well. It's just they didn't do a great job tackling in the middle of the field, which is kind of weird. I think that's a simpler fix. But what would you change defensively? I'm not sure there's a ton there you're going to do at this point in the year. That they're banged up in some spots. That's unfortunate, but we'll see. When we come back, we'll talk some stats and get the thoughts from the fans here on Locked On Seminoles. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even when those who aren't actively seeking a job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get back into the chat. Talk some Noles football after Miami coming up with a victory here. They're about to close this one out. Again, I'm curious what everybody thinks more than anything else, and you're certainly welcome to discuss in other ways. What do you think about Florida State in terms of the quarterback position? Would you start Luke? Would you start Brock? Would you rotate him? Who, what, when, where, why, and how? Let's get into details. Let's be specific, not just because I think he's better. Let's hear specifics. I'm going to break some of it down, and I'll do a podcast Sunday night that kind of discloses some of the thoughts in regards to what's going on with the Miami-Florida State game and how Florida State can get better with quarterback. But I want to hear your thoughts now. It's kind of initial first reaction. Secondarily, defense, what would you change? Again, if anything, I'm really curious about that. Let's see. Hayden Franklin. Luke has to be the starter going forward. They mentioned DJ is weeks away. Do we really think that Norvell would play him when he's back? As bad as Norvell has been this year, yes, I do. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at anything. What has he done right this year? If he does, it'd be hilarious, and I might have a full-on hour scream fest for a podcast, but it wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't. I don't fully trust Luke. I'd split time. That's from Vashon. I think both got to play in some capacity. I agree with Vashon, but now it's how much do you flip it? Because like this game, Brock started, third series, Luke was scheduled to come in. Did he kind of flip that? How many reps do they each get in practice is probably the bigger one. First team reps for a quarterback are everything. So I know some quarterbacks literally get mad, even if they're like a Heisman contender, if they come out for one play in a practice with the first team. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how important they think it is. So something to think about. Let Luke get his experience now when his games don't matter. I agree. I mean, your season's tanked. You're not going to a bowl game. That's 100% official. You might as well play him. I think that's pretty safe. Georgie, Mike has had this come to Jesus meeting this season with these results. There's a difference between two good seasons with the right group and the elite program that are always competing for a championship. Yeah, I get that. I just don't know if he understands what it takes to get there. Let me be clear on this. Georgie's right about, he better have a come to Jesus moment. But to fix it, it's recruiting. They're not good at it. They need to fix what they've proven they're not good at. That's a problem. Georgie also says you can never be content, especially when there's obviously flaws. No argument. Eric Lufros, how many players do you think Norvell will ask to leave, and how many players do you think Florida State will add from the portal? I don't know how that, who's getting pushed out and all that. I have no idea how that works. That's a case-by-case basis. I'm not going to put a number on it, but there are going to be kids that he's probably going to be like, you either got to do X, Y, and Z or you're gone, like off the field, academically, socially, team practices, workout, like every little thing. They're probably going to be pretty harsh because their jobs are on the line. They're in a lot of schools, like if this happened to Bama, he'd get fired even after the year after. They get fired. It's different there. They got different money. Florida State doesn't have the same money. That's one of the reasons he's not going to get fired. But you do this kind of crap year 2 in a row, you gone. So I expect the number to be big. I would imagine they'll take 20 guys in the portal if they can. How many are starters in terms of true quality is the question, and I have no idea. Florida State's success next season, and I hate saying this, will not be as much about Norvell, but it'd be more about the boosters, how much they're willing to pay. Because let me be clear, they are going to have to completely overspend in the portal to get guys, because a bunch of people are going to be like, them and their parents, why would I go to Florida State? You guys are terrible, and they are. Either you overpay me or I'm going down the street to your rival. That's going to happen constantly. They're going to have to overpay. And Florida State's not the elite NIL program. It's going to be rough. If they don't get those guys out, they're in trouble. Gemini 524. The way we're playing tonight might not even beat Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern wouldn't have scored tonight against Florida State's defense, so I disagree with that. Georgie, I've been following Luke since his junior year. Benedictine used to be in my high school's districts. He's the truth. I went to see Luke play last year in a high school game, and I've known him since his sophomore year. He's a really talented young man. I have no doubt that he has a lot of talent. Yeah, you're right. He's got a lot of upside long term. Georgie also says you rebuild the offensive side with new personnel, hire an OC, an assistant OC, new O-line coach, new quarterback coach, all of which can recruit at this level and develop new analytics and evaluators. Again, I don't disagree with that. The answer here is MONEY as many times as you can say it. Money. Why would a good coach come to the staff? Why would you go into a sinking ship? You got to overpay. Other good OCs that could go somewhere else, like Georgia might get rid of their OC. He's okay. Who do you think is going to pay more? Who's on more stable footing? And there's a lot of programs like that. The advantage you have is you got young quarterbacks. Guys will be interested in that. Somebody they can develop. I'll grant you that. But overall, the roster is nowhere near where it needs to be by Florida State standards. You're in trouble if you think remotely that this team is going to be in a scenario where they can just go out and get elite guys. They will absolutely, unequivocally have to overpay to get remotely what they need. Not completely even, but I mean way overpay because there's no security at Florida State. This team has a bad year next year, everybody, even the guys it has hired, get canned. Why would a really good coach that's coveted go to Florida State? Why? It's a terrible idea. So good luck with that. Big CY, defense was better than I thought. Still about the U. Good luck to you guys the rest of the season. Miami didn't play as well as I thought tonight. They're not quite as good as I thought, but they make clutch plays on third down. That is one of the best third down offenses I've ever seen. Like Cam Ward's ability to be clutch is insane. Matter of fact, third down stats. Let me pull up here. Advanced stats, third downs was pretty ridiculous. Yeah, he ended up 8 of 8 for 89 yards on third downs. I mean, he averaged over 11 yards a pass and 11 yards per complete. I mean, that's one of the greatest stats I've ever seen. So it is what it is. On third downs, Cam Ward averaged 11.1 yards. I mean, come on, that's just grotesque. Miami also had 37 first downs. So let's see. The biggest stat of the game, I missed this. Miami first down running, 18 carries for 154 yards. Florida State, 11 carries, 36 yards. I mean, 8.6 compared to 3.3. That is brutal. Matter of fact, that's embarrassing. Let's see. Georgie, on defense, you keep Surtain. Obviously, Surtain's really good. Ask Odell how much he wants to keep going. Fuller either needs to be let go or he needs an assistant. I'll just say this. I think Fuller's a better than average coach, but if your true objective is to win a national title, he's not the answer. He's a good coach. He'll get you to 8-4, 10-2 pretty consistently. But the reason Florida State had the year they did in 2023 was special, elite, in the moment, clutch plays by offensive skill players. Their offensive skill last year, player to player for any team in the country in terms of clutch, kind of like Miami this year. The receivers, obviously, two of them go to the NFL. You had a unique H-back / tight end / receiver. Nobody could cover. And you had guys like Ja'Kai that could be single covered all the time, now are lead guys. Their offensive skill talent's why they made it over the top in those close games. David Thatcher, you help turn FSU around as offensive coordinator, you get head coaching job. That might be the case, but I'm just telling you based on firsthand conversations with coaches over the years, that's not how it works. Turning them around it sounds great, but it's not the safe play. If you're an elite coach that's coveted by a lot of schools, and I'm sure Florida State will go after whoever they think the top guys are, why would you pick Florida State over another school that's already good, that's already going to bowl games, it's in the playoff contention, when Florida State's going to win like 2 games this year? Why? It's just not how it works. You have to look at it from their perspective, not you being a Florida State fan. I know that's really hard, but that's how this works. And again, this is not my information. This is for me talking to coaches over the years. They're not going to take risk when there are millions of dollars at stake. No way. We suck on both sides. Fire all coaches. Okay, that's not realistic, JP, but I appreciate that. Georgie, I met Bobo when I was younger. I'm not sure you'd have to overpay for him unless Kirby keeps him. Well, that might be true, but he's not a very good coordinator. They got so much talent at Georgia, it's insane. They're still not consistent. I wouldn't hire him either. Peanut, at least y'all safeties played well. Go Canes. I thought Florida State kept things in front of them. Like Miami legitimately struggled to get the ball down the field. The game plan worked out. They did some combo coverages, some man, cover 2 behind it. They played a little zone. They mixed it up a little bit. But more than anything else, Florida State played good man coverage. They way surpassed my expectations there. Frank Biddle, should Atkins go back to just an offensive line coach? No, and here's why. He's not good at that either. Their offensive line has been a mess. No, he has to go, period. Get him out of Dodge. Norvell, not elite coach. He fooled us. That's from JP. 100%. Name a team in the history of college football that was that high in a year to the level they're at now. I can't do it. Eric. Frank, no. Atkins has to be the first person to get fired. No argument. JP, we need Manny Diaz. As a defensive coordinator, he's unbelievable. As a head coach, Is it players or scheme on offense or both? A little of both. I would say it's more players because they screwed up recruiting so bad. You can't run basic running plays because you don't have the right talent. And the injuries of, again, I just want to state this. They've had so many injuries again this year. It's 2 years in a row with the offensive line. They have no chemistry. You have no chance. You cannot lose a future NFL guy going to a training camp at left tackle and then go play Miami on the road. That is never a recipe for success. You had Rizzi out there playing like first time he's really played this year significantly, if I remember correctly. It's the Miami game? That's never good. Fuller's philosophy on defense was in question early last year. The concept is there, but it relies too heavily on there being good players to compensate for miscues. My thing is, like he's been there the whole time, and under Norvell, they're too much boom or bust. There's too many mental errors with his teams, and it gets him in trouble. I don't know why that is, but it's been consistent. Maryland, 1956. Okay, Georgie, I don't know if you're being serious, but that's the whole point. Like, It's embarrassing that Florida State is this bad the year after they had an undefeated regular season and won the ACC title game before everybody realized they weren't going to the playoff and everybody turned pro and whatnot. So it is what it is. Armando Pay, as a Kings fan, your defense exposed our offense a bit. I thought the defense did better. Like the receivers for Miami need to check themselves. They did, like Jacoby George, I thought would have a big game. He got locked down for the most part. Miami still has a lot of talent, but they weren't in sync tonight for whatever reason. Maybe it's just an off night for the Canes. Frank Biddle, we used to rush for 200 yards a game with Atkins just as the offensive line coach. That might be the case, but again, I cannot stress this enough. 80% of college football is the same category every day of the year, 365, recruiting. What has Atkins been very inconsistent with since his tenure began in Tallahassee? Recruiting. The 2021 and 22 recruiting classes. Go look at them. Those would be your seniors and juniors. How many of those guys are contributing right now to Florida State? It is a low number. He was the O-line guy. He's asking them to do too much, and the consistent shuffling of players on and off the field for every play would confuse anyone. We saw this tonight with the illegal substitutions. Part of that's defense, part of that's offense. But the O-line stuff is just all I'm talking about. I don't know if that's what George is talking about here, but my concentration point is very simple. You're not going to win without elite recruiting. When you have guys come out of the game, the next guy's at least close to what the starter was. That's what elite football is. That's what Florida State used to be. They used to have first-round draft picks that were sophomores in waiting that barely played their first 2 years in Tallahassee that would turn pro after their junior year, at least consider it with 1 year of starting because they had to wait. That ain't happening right now. Failure to recruit is why Florida State sits where they are right now. Georgia, I was talking about the defense. My bad. Yeah, no problem. They rotate a lot. Part of that's guys getting tired. Chasing around all those receivers hard. You suck more oxygen playing defense is what it is. But that's just the way it goes. It's kind of wild, man, because Florida State's defense really hustled tonight. They play hard, but they still sucked against the run right up the middle. It's like weird. I need to look at the film from vertical and see it from behind, but I don't have access to that. I'd be curious to see what Miami did to make it that way because Florida State rushed the passer well from inside. Again, this defense doesn't make a lot of sense. A fluke touchdown and a garbage time touchdown. This is so pathetic. That's for Minos. Florida State didn't play well, but they didn't play terrible. They played better than I thought they would. I picked Miami 45-10. So it went a little better than I thought it would. Good game in all seriousness from Okaloosa Kane. I thought Florida State played better than most people expected her to, myself included. Eric, let's see. Norvell, fire Atkins immediately. Announce you're going to fire or hire an offensive coordinator and an offensive line coach. Tell everyone you're going to relinquish your play calling duties to your new OC. There's more to it than that because of recruiting, but I get it. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It is pretty rough for me to figure out how they're going to do the timing because their best part of their recruiting class, hands down, is the O-line. Those guys, I know nobody wants to hear this. This is how recruiting works. Players pick coaches, not schools. Let me repeat that. The recruits pick the coach, not the school. You can scream, you can shout, you can say I don't care. That's how it works. If they get rid of him right now, it's not going to help your recruiting. You got to find a way to have a come to Jesus moment with some of these recruits because if they sign and then you fire him, you look like a jerk because, hey, you just signed me and now I don't know who my coach is going to be. But if you fire him, let's say the week before the Florida game, I don't know. You don't have enough time for the next coach to get to know him at all because December 4th is signing day. There is no good answer for this. But right now, I don't think it's a good one either. Let's see. Mario showed physical strength. That's from some Miami fan. I don't know what he's talking about. All right. I'm going to make a few wrap-up comments here. Number one, I was happy to see Luke be so competitive and threw some nice passes. He obviously missed the touchdown to Kentron. He could have had on that fourth down play where he made the pre-designated decision to throw the ball to Tofili, etc. Defense missed some plays, didn't play well against the run, but the pass defense and the pass rush were pretty good. Matter of fact, just just to give a little shout out to them. I think they deserve it. Here are a few of the defensive stats for the Noles. Earl Little, who's barely played this year, had 6 tackles. Like, I don't know where that came from. Fintrell had 6. Sampson, backup defensive lineman, a redshirt freshman, played pretty well. Knowles had 4 tackles. They did pretty well. It really sucked tonight. I didn't see Brown on the field doing very much. They avoided him, which was smart on Miami's part, but he's a good player. He still had 3 tackles. Nicholson was back. Cryer. Omar Graham had some really good plays. They were all in the 3-4 tackle range. That's good. As a unit, they had 5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. That's pretty good. They just, third downs and first downs, like they were boom or bust. Either they got pressure on Ward, he had to throw it away, or they stuffed him, or they got a big play. If once Miami got past the line of scrimmage, it just really went crazy. That's kind of the way it went. With that, I'm going to wrap up the show here. Once again, thank you, everybody, for checking out Locked On Seminoles after the game tonight. I truly appreciate everything you all do. I will be back Sunday evening with the podcast. Need to break down the film and go through it. It's pretty time restraining, but going to do that, and I'll have another show kind of talking about the quarterback situation and some of the other players, make sure I didn't miss anything, and we'll get back into prep for the next game after that. Everybody have a great rest of your Saturday night. Take care.